This is the work session for December 8, 2025 of Bella Vista City Council. And first item is reviewing the minutes from November 24. And I believe Wanda sent those out on Saturday.
Right, I sent them under separate cover to everybody. I heard from one person, but you all got them, correct?
So if there's any comments on that, Gallery's not right now, you can let us know. I was planning to go a little bit out of order today because some of the people that were here, and the first thing I wanted to do was item P, which is a discussion item, planning and building departments, applications, permits, and requirements. And that was by Council Member Travis Hart.
Yeah, so I met with a lot of those folks. I met with specifically Taylor's department and Chief Sims and Roger, and we had a conversation about how we could kind of streamline some of the permitting processes. I had some legislative ideas that ultimately we decided probably we're not going to move forward with, but one of them that I did want to talk about was we came up with the idea that maybe there's a foundation that the city adopt. So if you wanted to build using that foundation, then it would kind of automatically be approved for the permitting process. Am I explaining that well?
I think that's close, yeah.
Okay.
I'll ask them to weigh in.
Yeah, if Roger has any input on that, then you're welcome to talk about it.
I think there's a possibility that we could have a set of standard plans for foundations. I think that the builders would have to give a lot of input on that. They've got such varied plans, and they've got their favorites, and those foundations would have to be adaptable to the topographical challenges that we have here. And so they'd have to have a range of foundations, and they would have to have those adaptable to their floor plans. So if we did a feasibility with the builders on their side, on our side, it wouldn't be hard, because we can say that you are within the guidelines of the IRC, and if you are within the guidelines of the IRC, we're going to accept that. And if you're outside of that, you'll need engineering. So if they want to come up with plans that even need engineering, and they have the engineering done, and we review it and see that it will comply with their calculations, that it'll comply with the topographical challenges, then we could do something with that. But I think it really lies with the builders and their versatility. It's not going to be one foundation plan, but it could be something that is adaptable to the unbalanced backfills that we have in our area. That's the biggest challenge, is the unbalanced backfills that we have here. So that's a possibility, and I would think that a review with the builders first. Are they interested? And how many different plans they would have to have for this to actually work for us? Because if we're talking about 20 standard plans, of course, we're not going to be able to do that. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
Any
Thanks.
questions? Okay.
So you'd start by kind of rounding up with the builders and see what...
I spoke to one today, and as he was in the office, and he said, there's no way, it won't work for us. So obviously, with that attitude, the builders are the ones that are going to have to say, yes, we would be willing to compartmentalize our foundations and make our plans fit. Otherwise, we're going to be sitting here with 40 or 50 foundation plans, and we're not going to have a set of standard plans. I would suggest maybe 10 or something standard plans might work, but more than that, it's going to be difficult.
Okay.
Okay?
So it sounds like the concept has some potential.
Yeah.
What about on the planning side, were you?
The planning side, and both the building side and the planning side kind of blend together with me sometimes. So, sorry, Roger or Taylor, if I speak about your department and it's the other one. But one of the other things that I thought would have been beneficial if we could make legislation out of it, because would be to the city provide all of the comments on the first go around. So if you come in and apply for a permit for a shed on your property, or to redo the deck, that the city would provide them everything that all the checklists up front. Obviously, if you go and do some redesign work, then that plan or the checklist that they give you wouldn't hold up after you redesign anything. But because a lot of the times the complaints that I'm receiving from folks that are trying to get their permits is they're told to do A, B, and C, and then they come out and do an inspection, and then they give them another 3 or 4 different things that they need to do, and then so they're back at the bottom of the pile for the inspection, and then when they come out, that happens again, and so on and so forth. So I think when possible, if we could provide them everything on the first time that they need to do, it would be beneficial for everyone involved.
Taylor, did you want to address that, or you have someone here you'd like to have address it?
I know inspections was given as an example, so I don't want to speak for Roger. But I know we talked about it Tuesday a little bit. Really, an hour ended up being not enough time. We didn't get to go through everything.
Sure.
But definitely need to dive into that a little bit more. We do have, just since we started the conversation, I've been doing background research as well as collecting just supportive recommendations and comments. And so I do have Garber, who is our on-call planning and engineering firm that's here as well, that I've sought their recommendation and comments on this proposal, what I believed was the request of the proposal. So Derek Lynn, who actually was a previous planner here in Bella Vista, so he's familiar with planning in Bella Vista, both from actually being a planner here and being a supportive staff member. And then Luke was our supportive engineer before we actually had a city engineer, and so now he remains a supportive engineer. So both of these people are very familiar with Bella Vista planning and engineering requirements for quite a few years, I would say, between the two of you. So yeah, I can bring them up here if you would like, or if you would like to hear from them. I also have a memo from them on this that I have copies as well that I would love to hand out to you guys for you to take home and chew on. But I would say, just depending on what my same question that I had on Tuesday was, I just need to understand exactly what the first, requirement is actually being legislated. Is it plan review? Is it my permit text? Is it my plan reviewer? Who is it? Is it per level of the development process? Is it just all together, one per application? Is it just one review? Like there's a lot of questions whenever we talk about just, what do you mean just one per item? And so that's just I just have more questions. But we do have some prepared, just general comments as well, if you guys would like to hear from Garber. Please. So,
Okay.
Derek, if you want to come up.
Thanks, Taylor. Derek Lynn of Garver. I'm an urban planner. So I would echo some of Taylor's comments. I think a little bit of clarification could help us understand exactly which way staff is being pointed on this recommendation, but I think efficiency in general, 100%. Having clear checklists on the applications, I think that's something that staff has had in the past and can continue to make revisions and refinements to in order to point applicants to, for example, a deck, a shed. Those should be to where they can be pointed to the sections of code that they need to look at, the things that they need to be aware of with the building division, because things like that do involve more than one department typically. But if we're, so I think some of those things could be worked through in that sphere that I just mentioned. However, if we're talking about a large scale development or something that is bigger, like even a building addition, when you're taking an existing site and adding on, that involves multiple site design considerations, parking, access management, and through site design, since that is a fairly complex process with the terrain that you have here, your sewer availability that you have here, I'm not aware of any jurisdiction in NWA that would require the staff with a large-scale development to lay out on the table all the comments that the developer would be expected to follow. The best that I think that they could be expected to do would be to have a clear application, to have clarity with every phone call, with every email, in order to point them and guide them in the right direction. I think staff has made use of pre-application meetings in the past and probably still is able to do that. So that's before they even have to pay for the engineering of the plans, they can come in and sit down and staff can walk them through kind of these things that they need to understand. And so I think a lot of this stuff is already in the works, and so that would be, if we're talking about applying that to large scale, I think that'd be something that we would not recommend
I'm
in favor
specifically
of.
talking about for like single-family dwellings,
Okay.
not large-scale developments.
Okay.
And so, like a recent example that's fresh on my mind is this person had, they own property here, they're trying to build a house here, they're living in a trailer or a mobile home or a camper or something of those sorts. And there's several, they're quite a ways into the process, and they just now found out that their engineering stamp, that's their engineers from California, and so they're all the way through the process, and they're just now finding out that that won't suffice.
Which I actually met with them on site last week, Mike Rogers, I believe, and it was found during that meeting that we sent that comment to them back in May 10th, I think. Just why he hadn't addressed it between now and then. I can't speak to that, but it was kind of like, oh wow, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was in there. But we went through all the review since, I believe, I think they tried submitting incomplete plans in February, but there had been several incomplete plans that they had sent. But yeah, as soon as they sent one with fill on the downhill side, there actually was one that we approved that met code, and then they decided to change it when they started work because they actually wanted a more flatter area for a yard, I think. And so they wanted to put retaining walls on the front and back of it so that way they had a level spot for both the yard and the house. So they wanted to change it. And so current code, Mr. Ellis is familiar with this. If you put fill on the downhill side of a house, you're not building in a natural slope, you have to have a grading plan that's stamped, designed, and signed by a Arkansas professional engineer. And so whenever they did that, we told them that you needed a grading plan that's stamped by an Arkansas engineer, and I believe that was back in May. And yeah, that comment's they're still using a California engineer as of until Friday, I believe. They were able to find an engineer that's in the state of Arkansas and relatively local within. We met with them on site Thursday afternoon, and they had an engineer by Friday morning and wanted to know review comments so they could get it fixed. But yeah, I did hear about that one, and we did get that addressed, but we didn't just now tell them. May's been a couple months from December, so just to provide clarification on that one.
Anything else from your perspective?
I think that's helpful that she provided the background on that one. Was there anything else, any other questions for us that you can think of in regards to that
So my
idea?
goal is to really just help the city streamline the process, the permitting process, because it's a point of a lot of the complaints that I receive. And so I'm just trying to be helpful and figure out ways that we can streamline that process.
Yeah.
Is
And
that
I-
legislative, is that procedural?
Can I ask you a question, though? When you get a complete application that is compliant, how long does it take to get through the process?
For like a
For a
GEC, as an
single-family
example,
home.
let's just say a GEC for a single family home. We're sitting around 5 days for those if it's complete.
5 days.
Yeah. If it's complete. We don't accept incomplete anymore because we found out 2 years ago when we were 3 months behind on GECs that was part of the wheel problem, is that we were accepting incomplete applications. So by the time it got to the plan reviewer was playing permit tag. So we had to send it back so it couldn't even be reviewed. And then whenever they submitted it, it made the wheel a lot bigger than it needed to be. Now that we have people submitting complete plans, the wheel's a lot smaller. So it went from 3 months to 5 business days. So yeah, that's what that. Large scale is a totally different scenario. Sorry.
Can you comment, thank you. Can you comment on, so Travis is hearing from people in the city or builders that they're bringing in a plan and only 1 or 2 or 3 things are being addressed, and then we go back, address them, come back again. Is that because they have more of an incomplete plan, or is it that it's just the steps in the process? Does that make sense?
So I want to be careful on that talk for building, because I know the inspections is typically where that comment's coming from. Because after we worked through it Tuesday anyway, it seemed like the complaints that he was talking about were more inspection. Plan review is going to be probably mainly, if it's one thing that's incomplete, it's going to be, okay, well, it's incomplete, we're not going to look at it until it's complete. So here you're missing whatever your plan is. Again, I'm trying not to speak for you, Roger. Foundation plan, electrical plan, whatever it is. And then by the time they get more comments, or they get back in the review wheel, they actually get review comments from the plans examiner. So yeah, they're gonna be different and not the same as what they received the first time, because the first level that went through, which is kind of what I was talking about earlier, needing clarification is what level are we talking about? Permit tech / intake versus plan reviewer applying code. Those are gonna be two different phases of the application, so. Roger, please feel free to jump in.
So we have had a lot of submittals that they're not sure what they're going to build. And they'll give us a foundation plan for a slab on grade, and they'll give us one for crawl space, and they don't know which one they're going to do yet, but they want to get their plan submittals in there. They don't know if they're going to use trusses. So they say stick built, and then they want the right to change to trusses later, or they'll say trusses and they'll want the right to change to stick built. These things affect the plan reviewer and the load path for the vertical load path that we have to follow to ensure that everything is being taken down to the foundation. We had one builder call and say he wanted to change, he wanted to put a bedroom in his basement, and when I pulled up his plan, he was slab on grade. He didn't have I wasn't supposed to have a basement, but he had built a basement. So as we move forward, we need to have more concise plan submittals that are what they're going to build, and have the trusses or stick built, and they stay with it, and they stay with the foundation they call out, and they don't change it in the field. We had one house that added 200 square feet to their footprint without changing the plans. Those are problems. We need accurate plan submittals. We need professional designs. And I'm not saying they have to be an architect or an engineer, but they have to have enough knowledge to be able to put together a plan submittal that we can follow, we can review, and we can follow it through to a building plan. And that's been a problem. And it continues to be a problem. But we're working on it. And I was just telling the chief that maybe we could consider on your side of it. No one is participating in the Board of Appeals very often, so maybe instead of having a Board of Appeals, if we don't have someone committed to a Board of Appeals, we could have a meeting and have some builders come in during that period of time and just have a rotating schedule with them and try to accommodate some of their concerns, and maybe they can accommodate some of ours.
You bring up a very good point. It never comes up. There is a legal process that if you disagree with the finding of the building inspector in any way, you can appeal that to the Board of Construction Appeals. That's what that board does. I don't know that they've had an agenda in 2 years because no one appeals anything. They just call, and they may call all of you, any of you individually. They may call higher up people. They may just call the mayor. I don't know what they do. But there's a process, and you could go in front of that board. It's builders and it's professionals in the field, and have a decision on these things. There's a process for it. But no one reads the code to know even what the damn process is. I'm sorry.
Well, to be fair, the complaints that I receive aren't based on the decisions that they told them. It's that they feel like they keep moving the goalposts when they think they're
keep in mind, they're always obligated to follow the rules.
Well, I want to say something
Oh, go
about
ahead.
moving the goalpost. As we came in here, we weren't even getting foundation plans. One of the goalposts was we need foundation plans. We're still working for that. But we can't dump the entire, we're going with the critical requirements right now. There's much more to the code than what they're used to in this building community. So we've been kind of babying them into the process. And we are requiring foundation plans, and we want them to show where the footings go. Now we're working, it's kind of like, it's really frustrating to say, we need you to show the footings within a foundation plan, and they're saying we never had to do that. That's the common comeback. We have to do that. With this community, I'm going to live here. I'm not here to just make money and run down the road. I'm going to live here, and I need the community to be built well. And if 2025 is the year that starts getting built well, then great. And if it's not, then that's not so good.
And how do they get to your department for an inspection without plans? Because Taylor's department says, well, you don't have a complete plan.
Taylor's department is talking about where it's going to sit on a lot.
Okay.
And mine is, what's it going to be sitting on that lot? And if they go outside, as this one added some square footage, fortunately, they didn't encroach on the setbacks, but they did increase the footprint. And if they're making these changes out in the field because we were trying to keep up, that's on them.
Sure.
If you follow your plan, and we've approved your plan, we follow the plan, we follow the engineering, we follow the code, we're going to get through it.
And just to clarify, I don't do intake for his department. So my planning permit technician does not do intake for the building department. So
Yeah.
his permit techs also can make sure that they have complete submittals before they send them to the planner bureaus back.
And that's right. What she see, I believe what you see is a footprint on a lot, on the plot plan. Is that what?
I think he's just asking, how do they get to plans examination if
Oh,
the plans
yeah.
aren't complete? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the permit tech is not a plans examiner. The one we just hired, that we're going to use as a over-the-counter plans examiner, permit tech, is going to be able to do a general screening of the plans and say, oh yeah, I've got this, you've got this, you've got this, but the ones we have now, they're not plans examiners at all. They're permit techs. They're looking for a listing of submittal documents. You give us those documents, there's your plans, great. But then when we open the plans up and it's got, some of them have the wrong address on the plans to start with. They're using the same plans and they're not going to the trouble of making them fit what they're building on this lot. And we need that. Okay?
So back to, this is really not legislative, this is probably more procedural for a lot of this, it seems like.
Well, if we were going to legislate anything, it would be professional designs, so we wouldn't be going through all this over and over again, which I don't think the builders would want to do, so I think we just have to work on process.
Which is not hard,
Education.
yeah.
I do like the idea of having like office hours and opening things up a little more, if that would be helpful, or
Is the
see.
board of doing there using that?
Yeah, if we get more participation there, that would be, I thought that was a really nice idea.
I don't know that the Board of Construction Appeals would give advisory opinions.
Oh, no, but using that time and space.
But,
Yeah.
you know, there's a legal mechanism for everything. I'm not gonna shock you by telling you that, I don't think. But when people just kind of had the attitude of just anger and throwing their hands up, well, they need to look a little bit deeper. There is something potentially that can solve their problem. Now, there's all kinds of issues, all different people are involved, all different sorts of stuff, and I'm not trying to make a comment about any one particular situation. But what I am saying is that I see what these guys are putting up with, and I don't sometimes wonder how much longer they're gonna put up with it. They can't tell you that, but it is ridiculous. I'll say it. And the people that are building these houses know it. They know it.
Well, then I would encourage the city to, instead of stretching it out and working with them and making it 3 months, just to deny it and send them to the Board of Construction.
They had it down to 5 days, you just said.
On one portion of the permit, sure. But there's several people that have been trying to get that
I mean,
property.
how many complaints are you, like hundreds?
I mean, yeah, dozens right now currently, unresolved complaints. So, I mean, I would be supportive of the staff to even do that, so.
We do end up getting in trouble by trying to help people, it seems like. We try to help them, and then it's, we didn't tell me that, we didn't tell me that. We were just trying to help you. It's ultimately your responsibility to professionally build a house. And no one here is suggesting otherwise, you know. But it is, it's getting bad. And it just makes me shake my head at some of the stuff we hear and see around here.
So
I'm sorry, I've said enough. Too much.
I do think that we want to communicate with people as well as possible and try to tighten up what we do as well as possible. I know our guys are working really hard, guys and girls are working really hard. And, you know, I hear a lot from builders, they're frustrated with this, frustrated with that. And a lot of these builders you can't build a single family home. They can't work in Springdale or Rogers or Fayetteville. Literally can't. That's why they're here in Bentonville. They can't. That's why they're here in Bella Vista. And the number of houses everybody says how hard it is. The number of houses keeps going up and up and up. We're over 700 a year. And everybody says it's so hard. And actually, you know, I admire the builders. I think it's a super challenge here because of the topography, because of the septic, the lot sizes. There's all kinds of big challenges that make it harder to build a house. So I admire them. But, you know, we've had things like, we had a couple houses on Constant Circle where you literally couldn't drive the car in the garage. So then we had to start making rules about the degrees. We never thought people would build houses that you couldn't actually get in the garage. And our staff spent a lot of time enforcing those rules and tinkering with them. We made them a little more relaxed. And, a lot of you guys have probably had this where somebody comes to your house once a year to check for termites. So I had a guy come to my house recently, and he said, this was in the fall, and there was some rain, but it wasn't crazy out of this world rain. He said, there's a bunch of houses I couldn't check for termites because the crawl space was full of water. You know why that is? We didn't used to check GE. We're stricter than we used to be. We didn't used to check GECs properly. That's bad building. Your crawl space isn't supposed to be full of water. Stuff like that. You guys probably all know about the deck that collapsed. We're lucky nobody was killed. There were people very seriously injured. There was like 12 people on the deck at a party and it collapsed. There's a bunch of decks in Bella Vista that will do that because we didn't used to check properly. So, we're trying to be strict and at the same time be good to the builders and let them have an opportunity. And, in one way I'm kind of proud of the builders, what they're able to accomplish. I couldn't do what they do. I couldn't build a house on some of these lots. Unless I had some really good subs. 'Cause I know I couldn't personally do it. And so we're trying to be good to them, but at the same time, we want to have standards. Shay?
I just want to say also, like, in spite of sometimes hearing from property owners or from builders with their frustrations about getting their projects over the line, I would remind the council, we've also heard from people showing up saying, hey, I purchased this house. We hear from Maddie all the time. I purchased a lemon. We hear about houses where cars can't get pulled in the garage. So it goes both ways. And I feel like our role as government is to protect the public and to help them out as much as possible. And while I empathize with the builders, I don't feel that I'm beholden to builders. I feel like I'm beholden to the citizens of all of this stuff personally.
Did you have anybody else, Taylor, or are you all set?
No, we did have engineering support here too as well, and then what you can see with full house here tonight. But I would just end it with just like, staff is doing what we can to help. Relationships matter. I mean, we're doing what we can do while also making sure that what we're doing is ethical. We're making sure all our boxes are checked while also being helpful to the degree that we can. I just want to make that clear. It's not just sitting at the table and we hate telling people no. I know that's sometimes hard to believe, but even though that's our department's job is to say no sometimes, it's not the most fun thing to deliver. We want to get those approvals and get those permits going. But if we legally cannot do that, then we don't do that. So I mean, that's just it. It's not something we enjoy doing, but that's why we're hired and that's why we're paid to do what we do. It's to protect the life, welfare, and safety of the general public. So that's all I would add.
Okay. Anything more, Travis? Move on.
We can move on.
Okay, let's start up at the top here. Unfinished business, there's an ordinance amending Bella Vista zoning ordinance and map to rezone property described in the zoning edition number 2025-59940, zoning parcel number 16-43269-000. And this was from RE Residential State District to C1 Neighborhood Commercial. And this was third and final reading. If anybody wants any more discussion about that, or
You recall, this was amended from C2 to C1 at the last reading.
yeah, that's right. It was amended to C1.
Yeah, I'll tell about my experience since the last meeting. I took Councilmember Honchell's advice, and I went and spoke with the homeowner, and funny enough, whenever I pulled into his driveway, I've always thought that was a commercial property. I didn't realize that was someone's house. And I spoke with him, and I understand his concern. I also looked at the lot. It's basically just a hole. I mean, he said that we would have to do some backfill, but I didn't realize to the magnitude of the backfill. So I spoke with a couple of construction folks that I know, and they said that this doesn't even have services, so they were supportive of the Planning Commission's decision to deny that. So I would still be supportive of PCD in the future if they decided to do that, but that's all I have for it.
It's a big ravine.
Yeah, it's just simple.
I noticed in one meeting, you were kind of trying to guide the guy that direction, the PCD direction rather than.
I think it's not as lucrative financially, and so that's probably why.
I also feel like I was unable to talk to the other neighbor because they weren't home or they didn't answer the door. They knew it was me, whatever reason, I couldn't talk to the person there. But, you know, maybe in the future, if that person ever wanted to sell his house, this gentleman could buy it and just rezone the entire thing there. But
He was also adamant, I did talk to him, he was adamant that it not change. The only thing he was possibly comfortable with was a PZD, with that buy-in and knowing exactly what was gonna be happening, but he said, there's so many things it could be. And like, again, if it was us, what would you like to have right next door? Even though you live commercial across the street, you live on the highway, what would you be comfortable with next door in your backyard? And so, yeah.
Taylor, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to make sure the applicant has an agent here if you guys did have questions. I know he's not here tonight. I just wanted to make sure you guys, I know you don't recognize anyone here, but he is here in case you guys have questions. So that's all. Unless you have questions for me, I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Has he reconsidered a PCD or is he a PCD?
PCD.
That thing?
He hasn't for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great option for him.
Totally, yeah. He told me to mention how the future map like suggested that C1 might be appropriate for the area, so he just wants to stick with that respectfully.
And I think you mentioned that was probably,
PCD application was suggested to him before. We submitted the C, or he submitted the C2, but I think same thing. He's kind of shared the same sentiment with me. There's no interest in there right now. It's a master plan development. So I mean, you know, it's not something that we can like consider tonight, like as an amendment, but it would be a whole new submittal with master plans, as in like the utility plans, the development, where it's going, the setbacks, the parking, all of that with the rezone. I'm not sure how much you guys talked about that, but since it is sandwiched between two residential lots, it would tell us exactly what is being developed there rather than just a list of uses.
Yeah, I don't want to speak out of order, so I don't know the appropriate, but it is right across from C2, and the zoning map for 2040 does show that that's the direction you guys wanted to head in. So that's why it feels the way it does.
Okay. Okay, I think we can move on. The next one's a resolution establishing salaries for mayor, council, and city clerk, and I think we accidentally had the old numbers in there. I think she sent you new ones by email today.
We did this afternoon.
And all it is trying to put the 3% on there.
So I may have contributed to some confusion on this. I don't know, but the mayor had requested the modification of his proposal, and that got put in the packet, which would be an amendment to the original proposal. I know others of you had discussions, amendments and whatnot, and those can certainly be included. But I was going to wait for this meeting to have that discussion before we actually start writing them out and put them in the packet or anything like that. So I just want to make sure everybody's kind of understands where we are.
Just personally, I am confused because I did email and put my request in on the 24th at 7:30 p.m. to change it to 3% to have a set standard. And then that was said, yes, we'll do that. And then now this is my amendment, but it's not my name on it. So that's where my concern is.
Which one you say, you're talking about the one that's the complete
The
thing that says requested by the mayor, the replacement resolution, basically?
Yes, where I said, hey, Jason, go ahead and do a set percentage, 3%, and it was on the 24th of November at 7:30 p.m. And so that's where I love that you think this is a good idea, sir, but it was my idea. And I just like getting credit for my ideas.
Oh, I'm not trying to take your.
No, to the mayor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to co-opt anybody's idea. I like my idea better anyway, but that's you know, I was just, actually what I did is I gave, after the last meeting, when you said that, and people seemed to be agreeing with it, I gave Jason the math just to make sure he had the numbers, the right numbers in there. And he was really busy. Right around that time, he had court prep on Wednesday and court on Thursday. That happens a lot, actually, and it just happened to be a really busy week. So I just want to make sure we had the numbers straight, that's all. Wasn't trying to.
Okay.
So I could, let me, at the bottom of those resolutions where it says requested by and prepared by, that has no legal bearing, and I don't think anybody's saying that it
It
does.
feels good to have your
But
name on it.
it should appropriately say who requested it. This is amendment, the original request was from the mayor. That was the original resolution. So and that's why it stayed on there. You all could offer amendments to any resolution or ordinance, but the original requester of it would not change. So I would just say that. In the future, I think I'm just going to take off this requested and drafted because I think it could tend to create issues that are unintended, and just the legislative process can take place and the minutes reflect how these things happen. I certainly do not want to create a problem just by putting a little tag on the bottom of a document. I'm not in trying to do that. And so, but I do certainly understand what Ms. Hughes is saying, because you did have an idea that I didn't look at it was a percentage. I assume it was the exact same thing.
It is.
And I wasn't the mayor came in and asked for this particularly, and I gave it to him. And I usually would prepare amendments after we had this meeting. I would have gone back through, found that, but it happened to be the same thing. So that's the reason for the glitch, or whatever you want to call it, on this particular occasion.
Well, I'm glad it's popular with everybody else. Thanks.
Okay, let's go on to new business. A resolution expressing the willingness of the City of Bella Vista to utilize state and street monies. This is in Karen Hunt's wheelhouse.
All right, this is a little bit of good news we've been working on just over 2 years. In November of 2023, we applied for the Arkansas State Aid City Street Grant, which has a maximum of up to $300,000, 90% covered by them, 10% covered by the city. And we put in a road on here because it's a state highway grant. It's specifically meant for one of the connectors that connects to a state highway. So we chose Bethnal Road, which was needing work anyway. And it let us use the grant to its maximum because Bethnal Road was estimated at $282,000, and this grant's for up to $300,000. So really, at this point, we received our approval letter in December of '24. At that point, all the funding for '25 had already been allocated to other jobs that they were in the works on. So they pushed us to January of 2026 for the bidding, and we finally reached that point. So in order to move forward with this, they're asking that the city say that we're going to agree with all the contract agreements and make this a seamless process moving forward.
And so they asked us to pass this resolution in December.
The resolution is required for us to move forward with the bidding.
Shay?
I like this, and I would be supportive of it being on the consent agenda.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
Does everybody agree with that? Should I put it in consent?
Put it on consent. Unless somebody objects, it would go on consent. So.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Karen. Next one's a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into a contract with VLP Equipment Share Company pursuant to a Sourcewell Co-op purchasing agreement for the purchase of one new case backhoe. The amount of, this year's also, $128,350 for use by the street department. Travis?
Really quick, while it's on my mind, before I get too sidetracked. Since Larry's not here, how's the consent? He's just not going to stay?
No, he could show up, he could be at the meeting, the regular meeting, and he could object, and then we'd have a separate
And then
vote.
we'd have to do it separate, yeah.
He hasn't lost any
That's a
right
good
to
question.
object to that.
It's a good question.
So this is a request to purchase a backhoe that's been on our 5-year CIP. It was originally scheduled for 2026. However, when we did the bond initiative, it got moved over to the bond. And I know that the bond money's not going to be available till late March, early April. The reason I'm requesting this one a bit early is because, for one, we had already planned on getting it January as soon as the budgets got approved. But on top of that, this backhoe is currently sitting on the lot in Joplin, Missouri, and we've kind of got our name penciled in on it. We are able to lock in the 2025 pricing, which saves us some money, and we're also doing a backhoe trade-in on it, so that reduces it down from what our budget was of 165 to closer to 130. So it creates a cost savings for the city. It allows us to get that a little bit sooner. I did speak with our finance director to make sure on our cash flow how that would be impacted, and it's been accounted for. And the cash flow, I might use the wrong word, it could be recaptured in the bond fund.
Yeah, it's good for the bond.
So they can basically reimburse the purchase?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
So it does save us a savings of almost $35,000 from what we were expecting to spend on any backhoe.
To remind you guys on the bond, you guys voted, I believe it was on August 4, to go ahead and proceed with the bond. And at that time, we locked in anything that was bought 60 days before that could be reimbursed once we close on the bond. So most of the other stuff would be construction type stuff. But that's a real advantage to be able to do that. So,
Any questions?
thank you. Let's see, next one is authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into a contract with Siddons Martin via the HGAC Cooperative Purchasing Program, a total amount of $1,243,431 for the purchase of one Pierce Custom Saber FR pumper truck for use by the fire department. Chief?
That is one of the first things we're going to be doing with the bond. The new bond that was passed in November will be this particular truck. I think the bond we had in there was $1,333,000. We went out to, we actually looked and used the helping governments in cities or country buy the cooperative purchasing program and to buy the Pierce, use the Pierce. We have good luck with Pierce. We have several trucks with Pierce. One of my oldest trucks is a Pierce. It's 22 years old and we're still using it. So it's a good company to go with. And this is what we have right now. And the reason why I'm coming right now to the council for this purchase, it's about 3 years out, folks. It's 32 months is the closest, but about 36 months is the longest. It could take anywhere between now and that time frame. That's why we're going out now for council to get it approved so I can get it on order, at least get us into the slot. We push out another year, it could be 4 years. It could just, keep pushing out with the way the companies and so forth are doing right now with their products. So that's why I'm coming out.
Time lag on some of these big fire trucks, yeah. Travis?
Chief, this is like turnkey, all the hoses, nozzles?
Yes, everything fully equipped. Fully equipped. And the reason why we do fully equipped is, and we've been doing that for the last few years, is we don't pay taxes on the equipment. So we're putting $190,000 worth of equipment on here with no tax. So it's fully, they roll it in, after we've already checked it out at the factory, they roll it in, we can run it on the next call. So.
Chief, just to confirm what you said, in the bond, we estimated it would be 1.333.
That's correct.
Okay, so this is about $90,000 less.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct.
good.
I would be personally, I would be comfortable F and E being on consent agenda since they're funded bond.
Larry,
doesn't usually like it,
if it's money, he'll oppose that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see your
I
Hey,
mean,
don't
I
mind.
support it, but Larry
Yeah.
never goes for it, so we might as well just leave him off. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question about, so the amount, is it all paid up front or is it paid over time since we're waiting for 3 years for delivery?
So we won't pay that until the truck's delivered.
Until,
Well, it'll be right before we'll do the final inspection on it. The check will go out before we bring the truck back, so they bring the truck back. So,
So it'll be right around 3 years.
yeah, about 3 years.
So this particular part of the bond won't fund for a couple of years. We're gonna hold it so we don't pay interest on this part of the bond.
That is right. We're going to hold that. And just another note, that's a locked-in deal right there, folks. For 3 years, the price is going to go up every year from now on. So
Beautiful, thank you.
And all of the manufacturers have that backlog,
that's great.
so you couldn't get a different.
I mean, a ladder truck is 48 months. So,
Do we have a pump truck?
do we have one?
Yeah.
We have several.
Okay.
And this is replacing one that's from what?
So this is
2003?
this is actually kind of replacing the 22-year-old truck. So it's currently at the training center, which we're still using it. Use it today. It will be that will basically come out. We'll probably decommission it in a roundabout way, get it probably to volunteers somewhere, sell it out, and then this truck, another truck will be moved in its place and we'll replace this truck.
Is it a Frontline or reserve?
It'll be, this will be eventually be a front line. We'll take one of the older trucks and put it in reserves. Kind of that process of just swapping things around.
Okay, you can stay up here. The next one, G, is resolution amending the 2025 city budget, the amount of $230,000 regarding fire station number 1 capital budget.
Yeah, and this is my fault, folks. You know, back when we were looking at doing this project and we were funding it with cash, I believe at the time, and then we got the revenue bond that paid off that for the two-story renovation and the new two-story project. In 25, I wasn't quite for sure when we were going to start the planning process or planning building, the old city hall. I wasn't for sure, so I was sitting around. I talked to Kim a little bit, and we were trying to figure out where would we be at in that timeline. I didn't think we'd be starting as soon as we did, so I only budgeted $600,000 in my capital to start that project. So as of right now, I'm $230,000 negative on that. So I'm asking the council to amend my 25 capital to pay the December's progress billing, which is due, which I'll be signing that probably tomorrow or the next day.
So all this will be reimbursed by the bond.
Correct.
That is my understanding. This $830,000 will all come back to the city after the bond's funded. So.
But technically, we were a little faster than we thought, so we'll be over budget in 2025.
Yeah, so we're looking at December's progress billing in January, January's in February, and probably February's in March.
Yeah, it's like about 1.4 million that we're gonna fund before the bond gets here.
If it goes with the right numbers.
If it goes according to plan.
That's correct.
That's in addition to what we've already funded this year. So the 850 that we funded already, plus the $1 million, the 1.2 or 1.3 $1 million.
And that is to keep that basically, oh, no, okay. It's my next project.
Okay, H is a resolution
Sorry,
amending.
just a quick question.
Okay.
So then the money when it comes back in 2026, it'll just be a ledger, you'll just move it into what?
The general?
It goes into available funds.
Yeah.
We reimburse the city for expenses.
Is that in March?
Yes, that'll be the bond funding in March. It's, right now it's scheduled for the second or third week of March. We're trying to get it to the second week if we can.
Shay?
I heard a lot of words. I just want to repeat what I think I understood, just to make sure I'm correct. So we need to reallocate these funds because we started on the planning, the literal planning department's area of the building on the administrative building.
Well,
Is
that
right?
and the old engine bays, that's correct.
Okay, and so this is the monies for that, and we thought we wouldn't have to spend those monies till 26, but we started a little early, so we need to move it to 25.
No, that's
okay,
not right.
okay, that's what I
I'm sorry,
understood, and that's what I
I
wanted to
guess
make sure I got it
got
right.
confused, I guess, is what it was.
Yeah, I think so.
No, so, okay, so this project has been going on for a while, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we remodeled a two-story old police headquarters,
Yes,
right?
sir.
And then we did a brand-new two-story, so that takes time, right, a year or so, year and a half, or whatever. So we've been going on this project for quite some time. Well, we got a revenue franchise bond to pay the city back, basically, for the work we've done, up to $5.4 million.
Well, wait a minute. I think she's still talking about G. You guys accidentally started talking about H. We haven't even gotten to H yet. G was
No,
no,
I'm
230.
talking about G. I'm talking about G.
Yeah.
Because this all leads into G right here. In 25, see, we're working on that project in 24, coming into 25. So we're about ready to finish in 24, into 25. I knew we were going to have to go in or start the planning side. And I wasn't for sure if we're going to do the planning side or if we're going to be doing the center part of the fire, or the old fire station, tearing it out and redoing it. Well, when the mayor came up with this plan about bringing in planning, getting them out of that rented space, everything changed. So we had to work on the planning side first. Well, I wasn't for sure exactly where we would be at. I was kind of guesstimating that, is it going to be February, is it going to be March in 25 we were going to start planning. So I thought I had enough money in there to carry us out to the end of the year. I was $230,000 short.
Okay.
Okay, I had $600,000 in my capital projects, since I'm kind of overseeing it, kind of ties with the fire department. I had $600,000 in my capital projects to start the project, but it started a little bit earlier than I anticipated. Well, we knew we were going to be having to do something like this before the end of the year, once we got some of our numbers from final construction. So that's kind of where we're at. I was $230,000 short. We got to pay December's progress billing, which is, or actually November's progress billing that's due in December, and December's will be due in January, and it'll move forward like that. And right now it's 230.
Yeah, about 230.
Yeah. So I'm short
Over
that.
budget.
Okay, thank you.
But we're going to get it back.
Great.
I said we're going to pay the city back.
Travis?
I think this question is for you, Mayor, or maybe it's for Kim, but what did we think we were going to pay for this entire project, and what are we going to end up paying? Do you know the answer to that?
Yeah.
Can you tell me that?
The original budget was $3 million.
Okay.
Then we increased the space of fire admin, and we created the city admin, and that increased it, some. The expectation was build out the planning section would cost $600,000. And and do the engine bays would be $600,000, but that's 3.2 million.
From the beginning of the project?
No, from the beginning it was 3 million and then expanded, and we were at 5 million for a while, and now we're gonna end up right around 15.
So we started a project and we thought we were gonna spend 3 million. Now we're ended up spending 15 million. Okay, that's.
Yeah, it kind of grew a little bit because of some different plans come
Yeah,
about.
that's
Right.
the expansion of the
That's right.
admin.
We weren't originally going to do a two-story fire admin or city admin. We weren't going to do that. We was going to take and try to do the center section of that for engine bays and some fire admin and fire living. The whole city hall two-story was a thing that was coming in that had evolved. It wasn't in the original plan. The original plan was Central Fire Station.
The project got bigger and the money got bigger.
The project got bigger and
The
the
money
got
didn't
bigger.
get bigger with the same project. It was bigger project, bigger money.
And that-
At one time, I actually was gonna buy another building near there, and the chief actually came up with this idea about, hey, we could have the city offices and the fire above it, right in front of the, we were always gonna, even going back to when Peter Christie was mayor, we were always gonna rehab where the police left for fire living. We were always gonna make the bays. He always talked about the bays. Some of the other stuff was there's different ways we considered doing it. I was actually gonna buy another building, but then we wouldn't all be together. We'd be nearby, but not together. And then the people who had the other building wanted way more than it was appraising at. And it would still need some work after we bought it, to change it how we wanted it to be. So that's when he came up with the other idea. Shay?
I do have a question, because I noticed we used the word City Hall a couple times. I was actually driving west on Lancashire the other day, and I had my dad who lives out of town, and he looked at that building. He said, "What a beautiful building." I said, "Yeah, that's our City Hall." And he goes, "Oh, it doesn't say that on there." And I'm like, "Is it?"
I'm old school. I call it City Hall.
Okay.
The city administration.
Yeah,
It's kind of hard to tell if you're a
Yeah.
member of the public, because it
It's
doesn't
fire
say
number
that.
So-
one in city administration, that's true.
So I get in trouble sometimes for saying City Hall
I like City Hall. I
instead
mean,
of city
most cities should
administration.
have
To me,
one.
that's City Hall.
Yeah.
Well, we'll propose a resolution to do the name change.
There you go.
Extra $1 million.
Yeah, we'll send it
What's another
out.
number?
Maybe
It
we
does
can get
say
someone to
city-
donate the sign. Yeah.
Yeah, it does say city administration on it, and at one time
Well, no,
it did say
Fire
City Hall.
Department and administration, it doesn't say city
Well,
administration.
it says
Fire
administration.
Department and
It's just a
administration.
bit confusing. I know it's
But-
semantics, but
I know, I've heard the same thing.
It
That's
But
the
it
people
used to
still-
say, back in the old days, the first City Hall said City Hall.
I still refer to it as City Hall.
yeah.
Well, most
Right.
people call it fire station number 1.
Or
That's what it
Central Fire
was.
Station.
Just
Okay,
curious.
we ready to move on to
Sorry.
H then?
Yes, sorry.
I'm ready.
Yeah,
I hope.
Sorry,
I
I interrupted you.
hope we're ready for this.
I do
Okay, take a breath. This one's a little
Okay.
complicated. It's
So-
get more complicated this afternoon.
Okay, everybody just, okay,
Okay,
this,
H is amending the 2025 city budget to appropriate eligible fire impact fees to reimburse costs associated with capacity expansion of Fire Station 1 in an amount of $1,048,000.
okay. So here's the thing. Okay, the city was paying cash for the remodel, okay? And they're kind of paying cash for the two-story addition, okay? Well, that all changed whenever.
In
we went for the
2025,
franchise law.
when the decision was made, I'm sorry, in 2024, when the decision was made to add additional fire admin and city hall, the cost of the remodel went up by about $3 million, okay? A big bulk of that was about adding the fire admin and expanding that part of the building. So because we didn't have $5 million available in available funds, we went to market and got a revenue franchise fee bond. Do you guys remember this? Is it starting to come back now?
Roll back to April or, yeah.
Yes, so in '24, we got that bond. All right, so when we got that bond, we did not have, you know how we passed that resolution this year saying that we're gonna recapture all of this money and get it out of our next bond? Well, we didn't do that soon enough because we didn't expect it to be $3 million more. So we didn't do that soon enough in '24. So we did not recapture $1,048,000 of money that we spent on the fire admin, okay? So there was a big chunk of money out there that we could not recapture, that it just came right out of our available funds. Okay, so fast forward to the impact fee study that got ordered. We were in that meeting, and the guy goes, what are you going to do with that what are you going to do with that $1 million that's in your impact fee? I said, I don't know. And he goes, well, you know, you could pay for the fire admin expansion. And I said, well, really? Because we already did that. We already did the bond. And he said, no, you can at any time go back and recapture that. There's no time limit on this. So because we spent that money prior to the bond, even though the bond didn't pay for it, we can go get it today out of the impact fees. Does this make sense? We didn't have we didn't have the $1 million in impact fee when we built that. So that's why we didn't take it out of impact fees. In '24, we didn't have $1 million in impact fees. We have it now. So the impact fee guy, the consultant, said, you can go get that money and bring it into the city.
Bring new space, new footprints, bigger.
But is the bond not already paying for that?
No, there was $1 million that we could not get reimbursed.
folks, here's the thing. We need this $1,048,000
Don't,
to carry on the project.
don't
Shay?
say it.
I just have two questions that I think I know the answers. Will these monies go back to the general fund then?
Yes.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you. That's exactly
But
what
it's
will
got to pay for
happen.
something, folks.
Great, okay, and then my second question is, approving this does not increase the roughly $15 million budget
No.
for this
No.
building?
No, it's already been spent.
Nope.
It was already spent when we built
Okay,
that,
well-
the fire
I
engine.
have a question for you, Chief. Is that how you want to utilize those impact fees for the fire department?
Here's the thing, we used impact fees for the training center. If I would have had that $1 million, I would have used it for my training center to carry on the project. If it's for the fire department, and it's for our space, and it's new space, and it's increasing our space, then yes. It's for the fire department.
Okay.
So I'm good with that.
Okay.
You have a 7-year period, which between the time you collect these fees and the time you must expend them, or they have to be refunded. So that's the only timetable issue regarding this. So, I mean, I guess theoretically, you have another $1 million project in the next 2 or 3 years that this could be used for, but otherwise, you know, you're pretty limited on what you're going to be able to use it for.
That's correct.
Yeah.
No, I am totally fine with this.
Then it has my vote if
Yeah.
it's got your approval.
It's for the fire department, and it actually increased,
It
it
increased
increased staffing
capacity.
needs, yes, it increased the staffing needs for response. And that fits within the impact fees.
Yeah.
Sorry, one last
I'm
question.
totally fine.
Shay?
Sorry, one last question. In the corporate world, we are real big fans of RCA, root cause analysis. When something is when we have an ooh-ooh, we love to figure out why that happened and make sure we don't let that happen again. I'm just a little alarm bells go off when I hear words like it was our consultant or bond person who pointed out we had these unspent funds, and when I hear we had.
We knew we had the unspent funds.
Okay.
What I didn't know, and what we thought we were gonna do was spend them in the future.
Oh, okay.
So, but what we can do, and what makes even more sense, is to bring them right now into the general fund, because we have the funds available, and we have the corresponding cost, right?
Right.
Versus if we wait until we expand, we already have a bond for all the other stuff, right? So this brings the money, this basically brings it into the general fund, available funds. It makes it available for us to use for other purposes.
Okay, so we had not forgotten about this money.
Pardon?
That's
We
right.
had not forgotten about
No.
it. That was my concern.
No,
Like,
it's
we
just-
have monies we didn't know about. I don't like.
No, I just had a thought, I thought that if the money wasn't available when you did, like, we didn't have any money in the impact fees, fire department impact fees, when we did the bond, we'd spent it all. Okay,
On the
when we did the
training center.
revenue.
We spent $1 million of what I had of impact fees on the fire training center with the bond didn't cut.
Yes.
Impact fees is really coming
They
in.
have.
And they were collected while the project was being constructed.
That's correct.
Yes.
But we keep track of them all the time.
Okay, I was just thinking.
Yeah,
All in
and,
different
and by the way,
categories.
just as a reminder, it's on your financial statements every month.
Right.
I mean, so the actual
Yeah, much
outstanding
reflect,
impact
yeah.
fees per department are on the financial statements under the other information tab. But we just didn't know that we could go backwards and use them.
Okay, which is the whole point of the people we hire to help us with that, right?
Yeah, that was, I was like, wow,
Well,
that's
we're
great.
currently doing an impact fee study, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
okay.
what-
Thank you for the clarity. I appreciate it.
This one just caught me by surprise because it seemed like we already constructed that. So I thought you would rather use this money for cardiac monitors or a couple ambulances or some new cots or some bunker gear or whatever it is that, so that's why I was hesitant. But if that's the best utilization, then
Yeah, it's kind of, on those particular items right there, I don't know of that kind of use. I thought it's for,
It has to,
It has to be capital
has to be new,
expenditures.
it has to be
Increased
new,
capacity related
increased
to growth.
capacity, yeah.
but that means it has to last 5 years, right?
The question about what qualifies as capital, I'm gonna leave to a finance person, but
I'm pretty
it has
sure-
to- the part about it relating to growth, it has to be additional stuff they're buying over and over. You can't just do replacement stuff. So, if we're gonna need 3 new ambulances, obviously that would count,
Yeah,
or 3 new, CPR machines for the 3 new ambulances, because we're adding capacity, that would count.
Which I would take into consideration if we can get those in the bond.
Yeah, bunker gear, if the fireman has bunker gear and it wears out, he needs new one. That one, you couldn't use that for impact fees. If you hired an additional fireman, so now you have one more. We notice that the most with police. When you're replacing somebody's police car, you can't use that for impact fees. If you're adding a new policeman, then you can use it, because now you've had growth, and that's why you need the new policeman, and that's why he needs the new car.
Well, new ambulance for
Yeah.
the new station, is that on the
Yeah.
bond or just a fire truck?
So, for the new station, we have the ambulance already.
Okay. All right.
That's something I prepared for 5, 6, back when the ambulance service turned over to the city. I prepared for that, bought 3 brand new ambulances to cover that 6 fire station.
But we got a
Good
couple
fire station.
ambulance remounts in the bond, so.
So that's why I was saying.
And-
That was the only question. So the 230,000 from Resolution G, you wouldn't want to pay out of this money. You'd want to wait because it is technically part of the bond.
We cannot use, that's why I wanted to take a breath. It was-
Past.
You
Yeah.
can't use it on the planning building. We can't use the impact fees on planning. What we can only do is recapture costs for the fire admin and the fire space that we added. So we can't we can't use it for that, right?
It's fire, police, library, those are the areas we have impact fees.
Yeah.
Plus,
right.
we can get it back in the 230, we can get back in the bond, so, yeah.
Well, and that's also due now.
Pardon?
That $230,000 is due now.
Yes.
So
Okay, next one is I, adopting a city budget for the city of Bella Vista for the calendar year 2026, appropriating money for each item of expenditure and for other purposes.
Can I go back to this other thing for 1 second? I have a question for Jason that he said we were going to discuss. Before we go to I, we say that we're amending the 2025 city budget. I'm still confused by that because I don't know how
Because the
to...
money has to be appropriated in 2025. It's money's just sitting there, so we haven't designated that expenditure. So it could just be a move from impact fees over into general fund.
Well,
But that still impacts the budget because it's a different expenditure. It's an expenditure that was not accounted for in the budget, even though it's, I guess, neutral or I guess theoretically positive. But otherwise, I mean, so it has to be included in the budget in some way to be appropriated. The budget is also an appropriation of any money. So there's not been anything from the council authorizing that $1 million impact fee to be spent yet. That's what this would do, and you do that in a budget. So it would have to amend the budget.
Okay, so let's just take the financial statements the way they are. Okay, so let's say we have $25 million right now as our expenditure budget in the 25 budget. Just use that number. So when you tell me I've got to amend the city budget for one more million, then in my mind I have to go increase the city budget on my financial statements. But I do not.
It's
Pardon?
just in the amount of. It's not intended to be an additional. It's just in the amount of. So you've
So
got.
the budget does not suddenly become 26 million. Okay, I'm trying to make sure I understand because I've got to report that from a financial statement.
But the money, the impact fees have to be appropriated.
Okay.
So we've got,
yes.
and you appropriate it in the budget.
Okay.
So I understand you're talking about expenses that have been incurred in the past. So it's really an appropriation from your impact fees to your general fund reserve.
Okay, all right, okay.
So it
I just
goes
wanted to make sure
from
about that.
one asset line to another.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't need to increase the city budget.
You're not authorizing any additional spending.
Okay.
Just a movement.
Thank God.
An appropriation, if you will.
Exactly.
Okay, going back to I, that
Sorry.
was the new budget. I didn't know if anybody had any more questions about that. Anna?
Kim, after reviewing it more closely, I think I just need a better understanding of, so we're showing a negative number, the 535,591, but it was being explained to me that we're not actually negative because of other places where we may have bonds or funds. Can you explain that? Like, are we actually looking to approve a budget that's negative?
So technically speaking, though, and the mayor was trying to talk about this last time, but technically speaking, that implies that we will dip into reserves to the tune of $500,000. That's what it's implying. But as the mayor mentioned last time, he does not believe that we will actually have to dip into reserves to cover that. But that's what it says on paper. Okay, does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
26. Really, what this is showing, the way she does this is 6.3 million is the required reserve. So that's the whole rest of this chart. It's as if that's zero. So when she's showing at the end of 25, 1.3 million, that really means you have 7.6, 6.3 plus that. And she's showing at the end of 26 would be slightly negative. Of course, it's 500 grand negative, but we also had voluntarily a 500 grand reserve that we've never done. We've never done that since we became a city in 2007. And really what Kim and I were thinking of doing, well, I'm pretty confident we're going to do that. You guys would have to approve it. I'd like to amend our financial policy. We started it in 2018. It was a really good idea. But it's like a lot of things, you pick it up, read it a few years later, you think, well, first of all, if we're going to have this, our idea is to have this 500 grand in reserve and then gradually build it up to $1 million. So if you kept doing this calculation the old way, you'd be kind of double counting, penalizing yourself. You got $1 million here, but you still got to hit it. Anyway, we were thinking of making it a little more simplistic than it was, but still having a solid reserve. I was
Changing
thinking,
the reserve requirement percentage then?
what I was thinking of doing, and we haven't even written this yet, these are just concepts. There's a bunch of things in that policy that you look at and think, maybe we should change that a little, and there's some other things you think, no, that's perfect. What I was thinking of doing something like this, saying, okay, we're just going to say the reserve should be $6 million. In the year, we'll have $6 million. And then maybe after 5 years, ratchet that up to 6.6, whatever you think inflation would, because that's the whole point of that. And Kim mentioned to me that most places she's ever been, they don't use a percentage of revenue, they use a percentage of expenses.
General fund expenses. So the AFGFO, I'm sorry, not Arkansas GFO, the GFO, the National Government Finance Officers Association, he recommends 20% as your minimum reserve, right? 20% of operating expenses. In other words, 2 months of operating expenses is what the GFOA recommends. And so we'll either do, what John is recommending will be pretty close to 20%, right? So, either one would probably be adequate. And plus, as we said, we're setting up this other account, this other reserve, emergency reserve as well.
Which is GFOA brought that up also. But
Yeah.
What I forgot to mention, the reason Kim likes this chart so much is she worries you guys will say, hey, we got 12.1 million, woohoo, we can spend money right and left.
What do you mean
And she wants to kind of remind you, well, wait a minute, you approved all these expenses for next year, these CapEx things. So don't get too excited just because you have a big balance. That is her point. Travis?
Maybe somebody could help refresh my memory, because when the finance folks came in from the municipal league and they explained the audit, they said we had 22% more in reserves than they recommended, so we were doing it healthy. Now you're presenting a budget that's running in the deficit, but you say it's not really a deficit, so I'm just a little confused about the reserve requirement that you're wanting and what we currently have in reserve.
And the auditors think we have a really good reserve.
Yes, and if you remember at the time, I said the same thing last year, pay no attention to that. And the reason is because he doesn't account for the fact that the next year we're spending our capital, we're spending available funds. So when he looks at that, he's saying for 2024 we have a lot, right? But we have already allocated the capital, the $5.2 million we had already been allocated.
Well, then we should stop having him come in and tell us how great everything is if he doesn't know the full story.
Well, he doesn't, it's not a gap. It's not a gap. He's a gap auditor. He doesn't look at it from our standpoint. He's looking at it from the standpoint of the audit, not as the standpoint of how we do the business of spending our capital, right? It's just, he's looking at the gap audit. It's a different, when I got here every month, they had this concept of available funds on the financial statement. And there would be these huge numbers. In January, we'd have $25 million in reserves. Well, of course we would. It's month one of the budget, right? Sure. You don't know what your reserves are until you know how the year is going to play out. And that's why I do this presentation, is so you know how the year played out, what we took in capital expenditures for the next year, and now what's available to spend. That's why this is a different presentation. I've seen the same presentation in several other places as to how to spend capital. And it's a more secure, a more risk averse than just, going and spending a bunch of money and not tracking how you're doing it.
I guess that part was just confusing to me.
I know, and that's why next year, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say, don't say that. Or if you do, say this too, right? Because he did it last year, and I stopped him when he said it. I stopped him right then. But this year, I kind of let it go.
She's conservative. She doesn't want to be too happy, Travis. That's what finance people do. Shay?
Okay, I have two things. So one, my fellows, this is for all of our collective memories, right? We have a certain city council member who loves to remind us that last year, the council at that time approved a budget that was $750,000 in the deficit, right? This year, we have a budget in front of us that is $500,000 in the deficit. However, for the record, did we dip at all into that $750,000 deficit? Did we dip into the reserve fund at all this year?
As of this moment, we have not.
Okay. So do you see how it's a similar concept, everyone? Or I'm just trying to help us all learn and understand.
Underestimate of revenue is what you had.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to make one correction. Last year, he was concerned because we said we were showing 750 grand negative. This year, we're showing 152 grand positive. This is current revenue versus current expenses.
So we're showing more revenue.
Yeah, he was talking current, we were negative, and right now we're ahead. Well, the end of September, we were ahead 2 or 3 million.
Right, so it plays out. Okay, my second
But the year's not over.
Yeah. My second item was, I noticed that Mr. Williams hasn't been present for either of the last meetings. I didn't know if it would make sense if he's able to meet with staff between now and Monday. I just worry that he'll be awfully far behind for Monday's meeting. Just a thought of that might be a valuable thing just collectively for all of our time's sake. But do with that what you will. Thanks for hearing my suggestion.
Okay, thanks.
Estimating the revenue. About how...
That's...
Okay, go ahead.
I don't do that in a vacuum, right? Okay, so to be clear, I present the mayor with my thoughts, and then we negotiate where we think we're going to be where we're going to be. And the thing to keep in mind is, how does money get to our available funds? The way it gets there is that we have more revenue and less expenses than we expect. When that stops happening, our available funds for capital expenditures will decrease. So just keep that in mind.
And I appreciate that you are concerned on that. So when we do exceed,
yes,
it's not scary. It's scary. It's scary for the minute we're getting ready to pass the budget, but it's not scary after that. Do we know? Is it the same percentage year after year that we are consistently, or does it fluctuate?
Oh, it fluctuates dramatically.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, so, some years, some years when we had the property tax reassessment, we got a huge bump that we were not expecting. I used to have Benton County calculate what our tax revenue was going to be, and they completely blew it. So now I've started doing it. And so that's like 1 year, that was what the problem was, is they were way too conservative. And then, so since then I've been doing it.
And I appreciate being conservative on this. Like I'd rather underestimate and then like exceed expectations than like the other way around.
I totally,
I didn't know if it was like
over deliver.
Yeah, I didn't know if we were always like, hey, exceeding it by 10%. Do we know that, hey, we can maybe buff that so the number isn't as scary when we're trying to pass a budget as, hey, it's only 5% underestimation opposed to, but if it fluctuates like that, like swings, then there's no way to do that.
You know, when I worked on this at Dallas County, and our property tax revenue took 3 people like a week. And our goal was always to be within 2%. And that's all I'm looking for here. I want to be within 2%. But it's really hard to be within 2% on some of these things.
Oh, absolutely.
Sales tax especially.
Okay. Wanda?
Oh, just to address the concern for Larry, he did ask for the minutes, which I sent him from last meeting. He will probably ask for these minutes, which will just take conversation. I guess that very first time.
Okay.
But I don't know, other than that.
Okay.
That's what I could do.
Can we send him the audio as well?
That's what I just
There are
said.
minutes
Oh,
of the
min-
work session, so
Yeah.
that can be the audio.
Those are the minutes? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, we don't do minutes for work.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Anything else on the budget then? Or think about it for a week. Okay. J is a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of Cody Moore and Manuel Wade Hagan to the Bella Vista Board of Construction Appeals for terms ending December 31, 2028.
I need to say one thing. I did something on there that I said I wasn't going to do again. And that was I combined 2 of these in one resolution on the Board of Construction Appeals. And if you prefer, I can split those out, and make them separate.
Well, I noticed the library was split out.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That day I had my brain screwed on right. The other one I didn't. So
We might as well make them separate then, but you think these are consent agenda?
Yes, absolutely.
if they're consent, do you still want them split out?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think they're being need, but
Change my ways since the last time.
okay. All right, so we'll put that on consent.
I will say though, I hope that we can send them some business if that would be helpful.
I think they need some business.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that'd
a
be
good idea.
Have those builders who are angry.
I support staff in doing that for whatever my support is.
Yeah, they have, and they have there's a lot of expertise on that board. Most people have a really relevant background in it, so. Anyway, so K is approving the mayor's reappointment of Anna Ayala to the Bella Vista Library Advisory Board for a term ending December 31, 2030. And L is approving the mayor's reappointment of Kim Honcho to the library board, same term.
Sounds great.
Yeah, okay. So that's probably consent also, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then M is requesting city staff explore options regarding city assistance to the Children and Families Advocacy Center, including requesting financial statements or any other research from the organization. I did talk to Natalie Tibbs today, and she's going to send me audited stuff, and I think she's going to send me this year to date. And I also have talked to several other cities, and I don't know of any other city who's given him money.
So P. Ridge said thank you.
Several people, well, we have a mayor's call once a month, and Bentonville said no, and who else? Little Flock, which is where they're located, said no. Little Flock said the reason is they have a sales tax thing up in March, and there's no way they're giving people money when they're trying to get that passed. And Bentonville said, no, we're done. I called Rogers today. It looks like sound like they're not. It's not on their radar screen at all. So anyway,
Mayor, I have a question.
yeah, Travis.
I can certainly understand why Little Flock would tell them no, but did the other mayors give you any indication as to why they weren't supportive of this?
I don't have a complete answer from Rogers. They just said it's not on the agenda. So I wouldn't be fair to say too much. Bentonville just said their budget's totally done and it's a done deal. And the mayor said she had heard Natalie was gonna, well, you know, Bentonville has some budget challenges because all these rebates on sales tax kind of caught them off guard. She just said she had heard Natalie was going to approach her directly, and she didn't. I think to be honest, I think we're a little more involved, partially because the JP, Joseph Bollinger from the east side of Bella Vista, came and spoke to us. We all got a letter. What happens, we all got a letter from the county judge. And And for a lot of cities, I think maybe that was it. And the fact that Joseph came and kind of raised it up. And when I talked to the county judge, he didn't know Joseph was going to do that.
What did the letter from Judge Mooring say?
Oh, we just talked about the CAC and said, hey, you know, they lost all this funding, and he told what the county was doing. I think the county's giving them like $100,000 or something.
So he was imploring you to join them, or for those cities to
Well, he was
join them?
asking all the cities to do something, yeah.
Am I allowed to forward that message to the other council members since we're talking about it here?
What
Forward
message?
what message?
The email that was like
from the-
Joseph.
No,
That-
I
that
got
has a
the
chain
email
too.
Yeah.
But it's in the chain, so there's this Joseph sent us all an email, but it was a forward to the mayor, myself, and to Travis. And it has the chain with Judge Mooring's
Oh,
words.
did you forward that to us? I don't think I.
No,
did.
the Joseph sent it to,
Ward, must have been Ward 1.
Ward 1, and, because we're all East Siders.
Yeah.
And we're his constituents, I think, so that's why.
We can figure out a way to get it to all of you if you want that
If I can get
documentation.
to, I
It's no
can get to
problem.
Wanda and the link,
It
that's
was the
okay.
county guy's letter, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, because there's a very bottom message in the thread. It's a pretty lengthy thread.
We can gather that together and just email it to you
My other
as a
question,
PDF or something.
thanks. My other question is, what's your suggestion on this issue?
Well, you know, I didn't know if I should, there's some other things going on with the county. Basically, you know, their jail election failed the other year. So the state legislature, I think Josh Bryant sponsored it, proposed a law that all the cities would have to kick in. And it didn't pass at the state legislature. But the county judge didn't tell the other mayors about it, so they were pretty mad, even though it didn't pass. Then he had a meeting with all the mayors, this was months ago, and said, look, we gotta do something about this county jail, which he has a point. Everybody agrees with that. Anyway, he proposed a financial situation, and it had a bunch of calculations, but the bottom line was it was based on how big your city was, and Bella Vista's share would be like about $1 million. So now that you've just done the budget, can you imagine having to spend $1 million more? It would be tough. In bigger cities was more. Rogers and Bentonville was much more because it was a pro rata thing. So the way it was left is, you know, he said, hey, you know, come and talk to me. We got to figure something out. And because he couldn't get the citizens to agree to pay for it. And so it's very much, that's one of the things Bentonville mayor said to me. She said, well, that county jail thing's still hanging out there.
Well, and also Bentonville just increased their water rates by
100%.
100%, so
Yeah.
then turn around and donate the money to a nonprofit.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we're
But,
increasing our rates too.
so
yeah.
what's your recommendation on helping fund our portion of that?
I think we should study it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should, you know, gather some facts. But if we did it, you know, you can't just give money. We'd have to have some kind of contract or something
There
for
would have to be-
services or.
That's a pending question I've got with what the current arrangement is between the county and the CAC in terms of a contract for services or whether, I mean, there's been a big connection between the county and CAC for a number of years. I mean, they've had prosecutors housed and officed out there. I can see there would be agreements in place for leasing and things that would support payments. We don't have any of that. So the Constitution doesn't allow us to basically just give money to a charitable, even if it's a charitable organization. We're prohibited from doing that. So we would have to have some sort of a contract with them with some sort of receivable from them in exchange for whatever it is that was paid to them. I don't even know what they could provide us definitely in terms of service. It could be that they're not already doing, and of course that involves police work and as it relates to the city of Bella Vista, really police work. I mean, DHS is involved, but that's a state agency and they're operating all over the place. So there would have to be some sort of an agreement in place for some sort of a contract for some sort of a service to support a payment, even assuming that that was desirable.
And then, So another question around that. So one of my friends from CASA reached out to me. If you know of CASA Northwest Arkansas, they work hand in hand with county and police and the judges and the
And CFAC,
prosecutors and CFAC as well. They've also received budget shortfalls from federal cuts. So, now it's a matter of how many different organizations that we are partnering with directly or indirectly could utilize funds, and how would we set those up, and where do we draw the line, and we can't have to show favoritism. So just,
Yeah, you made that point the other day.
Yeah.
It's a good, well, actually, the guy from Rogers, I wasn't talking to the mayor, I was talking to a guy in Rogers that works for him. And he said he was on the board, and all these community agencies, there was kind of a drop off after COVID. And I mean, they're all feeling the pain, basically. It's a across the board type of thing.
Especially when you like things like extra firefighters.
So it makes it kind of tricky. Shay?
I just want to circle back to the prison conundrum, which I know is not the main topic at hand, but Arkansas has the third highest imprisonment. We're only behind Mississippi and Louisiana, so I would just remind you and our other elected officials that additional prison space is not a popular idea, and that's probably why the voters voted it down, and it's not something I would love to see us support. So, just
Well,
my 2 cents.
it's a big challenge because I think that a jail election is harder than anything to win because Democrats don't like it because you're put too many in prison, and Republicans don't like it because they don't want to spend money. So that doesn't leave many people who like it.
Right.
Everybody's against it for some. And I've had some people I talked to where at the time it was on the ballot, they were against it because the state has been jamming prisoners down to the county level that's supposed to be with the state prisons. So they were kind of resentful of that. Well, they've jammed 34. Well, to get into the weeds, it costs $65 to $70 a day per prisoner. And the state pays the county $42 per prisoner. But the secret is worse than that. While you're waiting trial, they don't pay. They only pay after they're convicted. Well, if you murder somebody, they're going to be incarcerated while they're waiting trial, right? And they're getting zero that whole time.
Allegedly murder someone.
Yeah, allegedly, right. Luckily,
So all these things are connected. You've heard all the talk about the Franklin County prison site. Okay, so the state, they're saying, okay, we want to put beds here to alleviate all this overflow that all the 75 counties are dealing with because the jail is full of state prisoners. And so I think everyone's been waiting around to see what happens in Franklin County, which may in turn solve some of Benton County and Washington, all the other counties' issues in terms of bringing some of that pressure down so that it's not going to be a local requirement to fund jails because it's really a state issue anyway because that's where the prisoners are belonging anyway and they're not currently housed. And so
And our state gets 2% higher sales tax directly to its funds than our neighboring states receive.
It's
so
all
they can
connected.
take care of that.
All connected.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll forge ahead and look into it. But there's a lot of good points there.
well, resolution.
So let's see, discussion.
Consent agenda, anyone?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It'll be on new business.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. That's fine. Was that the last one?
Discussion items.
Selection of an underwriter for the bonds. I just want to let you know, we put out an ad for that, and we're going to have an answer by the 15th, and so that'll be something that needs to be voted on. Yeah, RFP, and it was advertised, and there was a couple of folks that did it last time we did a bond, and we sent it to them directly. It was Stevens Inc. and Cruz. Travis?
With the new Supreme Court ruling related to trash services, is there any legislation that we need to change? Or?
Not yet. I assume you're going to move on to trash rates.
Yeah, trash rates, right.
So what the ruling is, and I emailed it all to you, is that what they've said is that cities cannot create trash monopolies, basically. They didn't get to the constitutional monopoly question, but what they said is cities do not have the lawful statutory authority to exclude people from buying trash service from some other entity or company. So the exclusive nature of trash service is not something moving forward that cities are going to be able to require. The case, there could still be motions for reconsideration. This is very fresh and new. Lots of people are trying to figure out the full implications of it. I can say that it could definitely have an impact on us. Things like the recycling issues, we've talked about who has the right to do the curbside recycling, and well, we're going to be in a position not being able to say who has the right. It could be, or who must be the service you use for your trash. The implications of which could be, well, there's competition for trash, and maybe I can get a better deal. For you all's consideration, it's going to be there could be 5 or 6 trash trucks on every street running every day, rather than twice a week with all the wear and tear on the streets. Think about it. And so, and then does that mean we can sort of impose a sort of a franchise fee on that in order to collect? So just lots of unanswered questions. We're all trying to figure this out. I don't know if we've really figured out yet all the potential consequences, but there will be some in the future. In terms of the rates, we need to set the rates. It's not really impacting that.
But making them pay for this service, is that something we could?
We can require them to have trash service.
Yeah,
that's not changed.
I know we already require them to pay this trash service.
We require them to have trash service, and if they come to us and they say,
That one's carbon.
I'm using Waste Management instead of Republic, we can't stop that. We can set the rate that we charge for the trash service we provide. But moving forward, to answer your question, I think somebody could probably use another service.
I think there's a danger the price would be higher, because if you're not exclusive, you're
Costs more
losing
to
some
run a
economies
truck.
of scale. We still got 550 miles of roads.
And would we be able to charge franchise fees to them,
So I was
to
just
all
saying.
the people? Because that's worth $300,000 approximately
If
in revenue to us.
we're still looking into that, I don't have an answer for that right now. I think it may be likely that we could create franchises, non-exclusive franchises. In other words, if Cards and Waste Management and you name it want to come in and do it and then have a franchise, and that we could accommodate that, we can't restrict it. The franchise fee, because trash is not considered a traditional utility, I expect there will be some legislation that comes at some point. It's going to provide additional clarity on this. I don't know if they will turn around and give the city the authority that it thought it had before, or if it's going to just open the doors. I have a feeling it's going to open the doors. I think that's just the political atmosphere down Little Rock. There are lots of consequences, and I can tell you we're all considering all these things just like what you're talking about. But it's going to mean you're going to see different companies' trash trucks in cities. That's what it's going to mean.
Wendy?
When did we last open bid for our waste management services?
It runs out the end of 2027. This is the first 5-year renewal.
Yeah.
We have another 5-year renewal, and so that would be a logical time to look at things. Of course, now it may have changed anyway. But there's been a lot of activity regionally by the Waltons and whatnot about curbside recycling and regional encouragement toward that. So there's already, all that was kind of going to be in play, it was my feeling.
But when did we last put it out for bid? I know that we've had renewals. I was looking back at legislation.
It's a long time.
And I cannot find a time where it did not reference Republic or the entity that it
Yeah,
was.
I think it was a
always-
10-year contract and then 2 5 renewals,
It's been
so
a-
that would be what, almost 15 years?
So I didn't know if it was time for us also to maybe test the waters when we can.
Well, that would be at the end of in 27, you're
Yeah.
looking at that, and that's going to be, and that may be what you need to do, that's up to y'all, but that's a multi-month process. You really, you need to figure out what services you want to request, what is it, how do we want to do this, to structure and then to get the responses you want to get. Prices will be, if everyone's able to provide a service, Of course, you could have the city service that we offer. It can continue to offer. There's nothing's changed about that. And people may just prefer that, just for continuity. I think, as you said, Mayor, probably we might be able to offer the best price just because we're going to have so many customers that another outfit would have to come in and bring their own trucks. They may have to haul it further, and there are lots of things to think about.
Just as an FYI, I saw something on Facebook that as of January 1st, some company, and I don't know who it is, will start offering curbside recycling here in Bella
I've
Vista.
seen that, and I don't really think there's going to be much we can do about that.
And I'm not saying we should, I just am pointing out that with the
Previous, yeah.
Now, the legal implications are that we have agreements in place with Allied Republic, and other cities have agreements in place with other providers, and they're exclusive agreements, and those exclusivity clauses are now unenforceable. And will trash agencies try to seek some sort of enforcement? So there could be litigation regarding this potentially. I can't discount that. I don't really know how that's all going to work out.
Yes,
But this has been, in the municipal world of services and law, this is an earthquake. Okay, it really is.
Well, I've got one more item, item Q. Wanda wanted to talk about hotels in Little Rock.
This is a quickie. Kim referred last time to a bit of an avalanche. It changed in the price, and it really wasn't that, but there's a large event right down by the hotel for the municipal league conference. And so all the hotels right there were booked already the very first hour. So I was able to book something, which at that point was $3,000 more than usual. Since then, I've been able to get us all in at the Wyndham, and it's the lowest price that I can get for the city, so that we don't have that large amount. That was just at a certain point, but that has changed. And so right now, that's the best we can do is a Wyndham. I'm sorry, it's across the river, and they do have a shuttle. But I just wanted to explain that to everybody, so that if you have questions, let me know. I'm still trying every day to get the Marriott, or not every day, every week.
But we do have some canoe rentals lined up.
I'm glad there's a shuttle instead of swimming.
January.
Yeah.
Trolley goes across the bridge.
Is it?
Between the rock and the road.
So I think that's it, and of course our meeting's next Monday at 6 p.m. Thanks for all your attention tonight.
It's fine. Yeah. Which was yours? Do you need to be frozen?
Uh-huh.